Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go over writing this inquiry paper with you and all the steps that you have to do. And actually, what you need to know right off the bat is you're going to be writing a rough draft, submitting that through SafeAssign to check for plagiarism, and then you're going to be taking that rough draft and breaking it down into a media report. So I'll explain that a little bit more as we go along here. What do you have to put in your paper? Well, the first thing you need to know that an inquiry paper is about research. It's about inquiring out about a specific subject and then discussing what you've learned in an essay format. And you've already done the inquiry, you've already done the research, and our topic has been events leading up to the civil rights movement that go along with the novel that we are reading, To Kill a Mockingbird. And when you're asked to do research, like in a science class or a history class, or as you may be asked to do in the future, it doesn't involve reading 3 little articles, watching 2 videos, and calling it research. When you're asked to write a research paper, you're going to be researching 15, 20 different sources, all from a variety, not all Wikipedia on the internet. You might have to actually go talk to somebody. You might have to get newspaper articles. You might have to go out and locate information from a magazine or an actual book instead of just Googling it. So this is really more about an inquiry. Kind of interested about this topic, I need to find out a little bit more about it, and here's what I learned. So the It Says, I Say sheets that you've been working on the 3 articles I had you read, the Jim Crow laws, Emmett Till, and the Scottsboro Boys, all become your pre-writing for this rough draft. Because what you're going to do is you're going to outline key points or facts that you felt were most important or most significant to point out. And you've already done that because you chose the facts on the left side where it says It Says, and on the right side you put down in your own words what your interpretation of that was. So a lot of your paper is already written. How does that sound? Good? Okay. So basically, this is not going to be a monumental task. You are going to have to come up with an introduction. So you're going to have to bring up the topic in the paper. And the topic that we are inquiring about is the topic of events leading up to the civil rights movement. Now, the Scottsboro Boys was a catalyst for Harper Lee's book. What happens to Tom Robinson in To Kill a Mockingbird is very similar to what happened to the Scottsboro Boys. That whole trial that seemed to really not be a trial because he really didn't have an opportunity to win due to the fact that he was a black man accused of raping a white woman, much like in the case of the Scottsboro Boys. So in your introduction, you're going to need a good solid paragraph, 5 to 6 sentences long, that brings up the topic of civil rights and explains to us what the paper is going to be about in a clear and interesting way. You've written enough topic paragraphs or introductory paragraphs for me that you should have a pretty good idea of what this one would look like. So you do need to come up, you don't have to develop a thesis statement, but you do need to come up with a topic sentence that tells the reader very clearly what we're going to be reading. The first paragraph in your rough draft is going to be what you came up with for Jim Crow. So you're going to grab your It Says, I Say document, and you're going to go to the I Say side, and that's what you're going to put in your paper. Now, the thing you have to be careful of is you have to be very careful that you don't just list your sentences and call that a paragraph, because they will sound exactly like that, a list of sentences. You have to take the information that you wrote on the I Say side of your pre-writing, and you have to figure out, how am I going to write that information so that it sounds like a coherent, well-written paragraph? Which means you're probably going to have to add transitions and words and phrases to your current work to make it flow. Any questions about that? Does everybody understand what I'm asking you to do? Yes? Okay. The second paragraph then will be about either Emmett Till or the Scottsboro Boys. It does not matter. It does not have to be in this exact order. But we want to start with Jim Crow because that is the foundation or the basis for what happened to Emmett Till and to the Scottsboro Boys. So the second and third paragraphs are followed in the same way as the first. You pull up your It Says, I Say document. You look at what you wrote. You find a way to rewrite it in a coherent paragraph with transitions. Do not just stop writing about the Scottsboro Boys and start the next paragraph with on Emmett Till without making sure that the last sentence of the paragraph tells us or transitions us into the next topic. You can do that by writing things like, although what happened to Emmett Till was a very sad thing, it doesn't even compare to what happened to the Scottsboro Boys in 1931. That's a transition sentence that leads the reader from one topic into the next. The conclusion is not a summary of what you've already stated. The conclusion now is your thoughts and ideas, your own conclusions of the ideas that you have deemed to be important. So you can think about these questions. Why are these facts important? What do you think is significant about this information? Why should your reader know this? Can you make any connections to our own world today? Do not just answer the 4 questions and consider that a conclusion. Those questions are provided to help you think through, what am I going to write as a conclusion? Are there any questions about that? Oh, I can't wait to read these papers. They're going to be awesome because you guys don't have any questions, so you must really be getting it.
Well, I think your outline there is key, you guys. Follow that outline and, make sure you expand, but you should be good.
Okay, so I'm going to repeat, Ms. Robinson, because I don't think my mic's picking you up, but what you just said was this outline is pretty well laid out, pretty clear as to what needs to be written in the paper, and if they just follow the outline, they should be okay.
Yeah, and actually, guys, and you can repeat me, and maybe I should stand over there or something.
You should. Come over here.
When Mrs. Crandall calls this an inquiry paper, the word inquire, what does that mean? What does it mean, you guys? If I inquire about something, what am I doing? Asking. Yeah,
Asking questions.
Thank you, London. Yeah, it's asking. So you're asking about something, and you're going to answer that question. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's what it means. So again, just to repeat what Ms. Robinson was saying in case you couldn't hear her across the room, what we're saying is this is an inquiry paper, which means you're asking a question and you're locating some answers about it. And our question very simply is, what events occurred that led up to the Civil Rights Movement? And we've been looking at the Civil Rights Movement and the events that occurred, especially in the Deep South, because our book is set in Alabama in the 1930s. So it helps us gain a better understanding of our characters and what is going on in the story if we have an understanding of what happened in history. So what you're going to do is you're going to write the rough draft for your paper. It's a rough draft. It's okay if there's mistakes in it. Then you're going to submit your rough draft by uploading it to SafeAssign the first time to check it for plagiarism. Because what I don't want is I don't want you copying and pasting sentences out of the articles. That's bad. Then you're going to revise and edit your paper once you've seen your report from SafeAssign. After that, you're going to have to choose a presentation tool like PowerPoint, Windows Movie Maker, iMovie was an option somebody asked in the last class, Prezi, and you're going to create a final copy of your information in a media or digital format. Now, somebody asked if they could use Animoto. Animoto is exactly what we're looking for, but the problem with Animoto is the free Animoto only allows you 30 seconds. You're not going to be able to do this in a 30-second film. Unless you choose to purchase an Animoto membership, and I don't know how much money it is, you're not going to get any more than 30 seconds. So it doesn't work for this project, but there may be other Web 2.0 tools out there like Animoto that I don't know about. And if you find it, one that'll do the movie making for you, please, please let us know so we can tell other students about it. You're going to, at that point, go through your rough draft, and I'll walk you through this next week, you're going to choose the best information from your rough draft to create your final copy. But instead of writing it out in a paper or an essay, we're going to present it in a media format. I provided a video clip for you, and you've already seen this once because we watched it when we were introducing the novel. Do you remember this? This is a student that did a report on the Great Depression as it connected to Harper Lee's novel. And what you can't hear right now, as I've got the sound turned off, is the music. Do you remember there was music that went with it? So if you notice, this student has integrated images and sentences, and this is her inquiry paper. Only instead of typed up and submitted as an essay, she turned it into a media presentation. So this is what I'm looking for as your final copy.
Can I clarify something?
Mm-hmm.
So for their final copy in a media form, can they cut and paste their pieces of the rough draft that are good into the digital format?
Of course they can.
Okay, but they don't need necessarily to cut and paste all of it, just the key points, correct?
Correct. And then the question's going to be asked, well, why are you having us write a rough draft to begin with? And it's because the writing process teaches us that we need to create the entire document in order to understand what's going to be perfect for the final copy. So you can see here on Blackboard, you're going to submit your rough draft submission here, and then you're going to submit your inquiry digital project here. And we'll talk more about how to submit that a little later on. There's a couple different ways we have to do it. Your rubric is right here. This is how you're going to be graded. So you can take a look at this, and you will notice that one whole line of the rubric is on your media presentation. Your introduction, your conclusion, mechanics, clearly, quality of your information, and the amount of your information. And for those of you that are taking honors, looks like we got more than we need here. I'll fix this. You have a little bit different criteria. Instead of each paragraph in the body of the paper being spelled out for you, you're going to have to determine what the body of your paragraph is going to look like. You have to include information on Jim Crow, Scottsboro Boys, and Emmett Till, and you have to go out and research at least 2 other examples of racist behavior in the Deep South during this era, which means you are going to be looking at some other instances, and I can help you locate that information on the web while you're here, or you can simply go to Google and search for civil rights in the 1930s and 40s, and it will give you some great articles with some information about it. Okay? All right.